Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 22, and today is going to be a time trial challenge, courtesy from DrAce himself. So on the second challenge we're going to be doing Laguna Seca with the Ducati Desmosedici GP7, I believe it was, with Casey Stoner at the helm. Now I love the track of Laguna Seca, and of course I love Ducatis, and I love MotoGP. So it's a great combination here today, and I gotta say, I surprised myself with the results in this one, so we're gonna start off relatively slow, get into the groove, get into the thick of things, and then really start to chuck in the fast lap times. But for now, it's all about learning the track. If you're not familiar with Laguna Seca, then you will be at the end of this video, or even afterwards when you are tackling this trial yourself. And I do hope that you join in and attempt a lap time or two, and see if you can dethrone me from wherever we may be at the leaderboards. That will be found out towards the end of the video. But for the time being, I'm going to try and give you some pointers and some advice as we go through this one, and most of them I can give you a pretty solid advice for particular corners, but there are one or two that still working out where I want to be sort of braking or how much acceleration I'm going to be chucking in. But for this one, for now, the banker lap, the original first lap, just to see how we're getting on, just to see where we're going to be on the leaderboard, and across the line we will go. It's a 1:21.033. So with that out of the way with, let's get into the Andretti hairpin. Braking rather early here, it's kind of on the left hand side of the tyre, just try and position the motorcycle so the wheels are parallel, and then begin to brake firm. If you brake really firm while you're leaning, you will end up dropping the motorcycle. So braking quite early now for turn 3. I do prefer going tight to the apex there and then firing out without touching the rumble strips. Some of the rumble strips here in Laguna Seca can be really awkward, so do your best to avoid them if possible. But now on the approach to turn 5, underneath the Tiso bridge, we'll brake really firm and look to the left hand side, looking like we went a little bit too wide there for my liking. You can try going in really tight or really wide for that apex, it doesn't really matter. It just depends on your riding style. But now into turn 6, upshifting up a little bit too many times there. We went to 4th rather than going into 3rd. We lost a bit of drive, but braking now very firm for the corkscrew. Really difficult corner to get right there, and I do not expect you to get it right first time, so I'll give you some pointers as this video progresses. But now into the rainy curve for the left-hander, looking like we've got it nice and tight to the apex, almost too tight there, touching the rumble strip. Just had us hesitating ever so slightly to continue to move to the left. But now bringing on the power, going on the rumble strip, and we were super close there to invalidating the lap, but going into the left-hand side to the final corner. A little bit wide for victory, but unfortunately we will not be improving the lap time, but I'm still not particularly mad at that lap time. But continuing it on, going into Andretti hairpin, look for the rumble strip on your right, bring into brake, roughly as you see the beginning of that rumble strip going into the entry of Andretti hairpin. It's quite crucial that you pay attention to the rumble strips, because those are effectively your braking markers. So now to the right hand side, lock the brakes a little bit there by applying too much brake, so I did struggle trying to chuck it to the right hand side, but getting it right here for turn 4 is critical. We gained a big amount of time there, but then had the wheelie on the exit. So we've got to try and balance that. I'm running TCS 1, anti-wheelie 2. My electronics for these sort of style of bikes is just perfect for me. I love the combination I've got, and as this one goes on, you'll see that I'm going to get less wheelie and I'm going to be more in control. And that's how you guys will be as well. Braking a little bit too late here for my liking. It's not going to happen going into the corkscrew. It's no way. You've got to be braking way early in that, and you've got to be in more control. You cannot be slamming on the brakes going onto the entry for the corkscrew. You need to be gentle, concise and controlled. If you're going to be smashing the brakes, then unfortunately you're not going to make that corner. Might be alright for cars, but it's not going to work for a MotoGP machine. So braking into the final corner, a little bit too early there for my liking, but I don't mind, because we did have a decent enough drive on the run up to the final, onto the back straight, I do say. So now to the left hand side, Andretti hairpin, pay attention to the right hand side, rumble strip getting towards that white line on the rumble strip. You'll know what I mean when you see it. It's a bigger, thicker part of the rumble strip that's just uncoloured, it's just unpainted. It's quite obvious it's on all of the rumble strips, and use that as your guide. Running a little bit too deep for turn 3, but having a decent drive without avoiding the wheelie was critical there, and getting it to nice and tight to the apex for turn 4, that is exactly how to do it. Looking much better all the time. But now into turn 5, braking rather firm, using a lot of front brake and a bit of rear brake just to slow the motorcycle down. But what I want to pay attention to now is the corkscrew that is coming up. Braking here for the shadow for the left hand side for turn 6 is great, but this part here, pay attention to the rumble strip left hand side. White part of the track, you see it on the rumble strip, there's a white line, the unpainted part. Brake there. Slow, in control and gently. Do not be pressing hard on the brakes. I cannot stress that enough. Be gentle, be calm, be in control, and then you'll have it going into the corkscrew. But now into the right hand side, into turn 10, nice and tight to the apex. It's quite crucial you go for that tighter line to get the additional speed. Think of it like you were in an MXGP bike or in a Supercross, for example. You use the berm to launch yourself in around the corner. Use that as an effective berm into that corner because it is off camber ever so slightly. Braking for turn 1 for the Andretti hairpin, or turn 2 should I say, since turn 1 is technically the left hand side. But now going for a wider sweeping line for Andretti hairpin, trying something new. This is what you got to do. It might work for you, might work for me, might not work for you, and it might not work for me, but you've got to try each and every combination you can for certain corners. If you don't... Oh, massive moment there, almost lost the front. Touching the rumble strip, as you see as well, the wheelie there, losing us a significant amount of time and also getting a bit out of shape on the brakes for turn 5. What I might do after this one is change the tyres over to a soft rear as well as the soft front to see how things go. But for now, pay attention once more to the rumble strip left hand side, unpainted part of the rumble strip. Curb here is here, just touching the outside part there and cutting the track effectively. So we did lose obviously our validation for this lap time, but I cannot stress, if you use that as your guide and also pay attention to the bottom right hand corner of your screen, you will see how much brake is being applied from me, and you will see how you can do it going into the corkscrew. Now I wouldn't advise going in there the speed I'm going at to start off with. Just take it slow, just take it steady, get a feel for the corkscrew and get a feel for how much pressure you can place on the brakes. So with that invalidation of that lap time, we are going to jump back into the pits, change over to the soft rear and then tackle it once again. So into the Andretti hairpin, going for the wider sweeping line. I did begin to favour this part because you see the difference on the acceleration out of the corner and then positioning it well for turn 3. You go too tight there and you actually lose a little bit of time. So just trial and error. Trial and error is what I would suggest, but I did find that sticking to the wider line with the entry going into turn 3 was a lot better. But now braking at the Tissot shadow there, you see it to the left hand side, actually positioning the motorcycle and almost sliding the rear, Casey Stoner style. Seems fitting, doesn't it? And I like that sort of combination for that corner, but as I mentioned before, and I'll mention it 1,000 times, you have your own style. What works for me may not work for you. But corkscrew, braking roughly at the white unpainted part of that particular corner, and then braking nice and tight, keeping it tight to the apex, tight for one apex, tight for two. The corkscrew is a corner built up on 3 parts. Braking for the actual corner, tackling the apex for the left hand side of the corkscrew, and then the right hand side on the exit out of the corkscrew and into Rainy Curve. Keep an eye on that part. If you need any more assistance, stick around because I've got some guides coming out very soon which is going to be focusing all about the difficult parts of tracks in MotoGP 22. So another solid lap time, and I will tell you now, I think I've reached my potential here at 1 minute 20. When I was doing the Nicky Hayden battle against Max Biaggi a couple of weeks ago, didn't feel as confident as I do now with Casey Stoner's Ducati, but what I will say is that those lap times were around a 121, 121.5, and I think I've really impressed myself in this one because I wasn't expecting to go as quick as this. I will tell you that the world record holder at this time is 121.8, I believe it is, so if we can do better than that, then we should have a world record on our hand, which will not last very long, I can assure you, because you aces are extremely quick and extremely good at this game, so we'll see what happens. But for now, I'm happy to tell you, lap 7 of around 10 or 11 laps I did, braking at the corkscrew, part 1, braking in, keeping it in nice and tight, keep it tight to the apex for the left hand side, keep it tighter to the right hand side. A little wheelie there, you see that wheelie? That small lift of the front on the acceleration has cost us a bit of time. We will, I hope, still get into the 1 minute 19s, and that would be certainly a turn up for the books. But for now, braking into the final corner too early on the brakes. Way too early on the brakes, way too casual. Sometimes it happens. You've got a lead, you know you've got it, you just don't want to panic and mess it up into the final corner. I just effectively did that. And with also panicking about that final corner, went on to turn 2 and made a big mistake there. So I did actually take a couple of goes in this one. It wasn't as simple as just continuing the lap times and just doing it over and over. I did find that I had to return back to the pit or restart my fastest lap because I did begin to make a few mistakes in this particular video. But now to the right hand side, really feel like the entry into turn 4 is correct there. It's just a matter of feeling though. You've got to find where you want to brake as we now go into turn 5. Going a little bit deeper here, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because as you see up on the acceleration, roughly the same as where we were against the Ghost. So once again, you've got to find your particular style and your preference for certain corners around Laguna Seca. But here we go then, corkscrew, the most difficult part of this circuit, braking firm, keeping it to the right hand side, then keeping it nice and tight, almost too tight to the apex there, but without the wheelie. Look at the speed that we managed to acquire there. That is huge. Going into the rainy corner, we should be getting into the 119s for the very first time here today, here in Laguna Seca. Turn 10, going into that little part where it's kind of off camber, going into the berm, but once again, too early on the brakes going into the final corner. Victory corner will not be giving us a victory here today, because unfortunately that was too slow. But we did improve the lap time. But now, guys and gals, it's down to this. We've got a couple more laps, I think, in the tank yet before we can really get into the 119s. We're so close. A 120.068, a 120.032 and a 120.015. So great lap times, but sadly not as consistent because I have been restarting the lap times. But for now, turn 4, tackled it once, almost well. Bit eager on the acceleration there, also accelerating a bit too aggressively and abruptly lifting the front wheel up. But now trying the different line. I've mentioned this many times before and I'll mention it again. Just because it's not going as planned on the first part of the track, for example, keep on going. Because without that sort of fear of I'm going to lose this lap, you actually become more aggressive and you're willing to take more risks. And by doing so, we're really closing in on the Ghost. So much so that we've actually nailed it towards the corkscrew and then we've begun to lose it. So unfortunately, this lap is going to be a write-off. But let's crack down on this final corner that I've been struggling on. Get into the right-hand side here for turn 10, keep it nice and tight to the apex, fire it out with a lot of acceleration, and brake as hard as I bloody well can for the final corner, and you'll see the difference. We are right on the rear now of the Ghost. If we just nail that part, we've got a sub 120, we've got a 119 for the very first time, so let's make it happen on this lap time, ladies and gentlemen. Braking into the Andretti hairpin, same spot we've been braking all the way through, going for that wider entry. Looks a bit unorthodox, but when you bring it to the left-hand side, it just works. Keep on bringing the power on and brake here as you go really tight to the apex of turn 3. Excellent. Sector 1, done and dusted. Just after the shadow, keep an eye on the right-hand side, keep it tight. Losing a bit of traction there, be careful on the acceleration, keep away from the wheelies. Good stuff, we've tackled that now as well. Braking firm for the shadow for that left-hander for turn 5. Running it neck and neck with the Ghost, but trust me, we'll still have some extra drive. And now braking at the shadow, just a little bit before it, probably could have gone a bit later there. Going too tight to the apex is not ideal, but it worked. As we now go to the corkscrew. Braking, a little bit of a wheelie there, almost threw us off. But slamming the anchors on somewhat in a controlled way, of course, and keeping it tight to both apexes. Brilliantly, we are ahead of the Ghost. Rainy curve. Can we keep it in nice and tight? We can. We didn't panic, we didn't begin to lose acceleration, and now into turn 10. Not as tight as I would have wanted, but we're still up. And bear in mind, we've practiced the previous lap, slam on the anchors towards the final corner, into the victory corner for turn 11. Nice and tight to the apex without touching the rumble strip. Bringing on the power, bringing on the acceleration across the line. 1 minute 19.632. And that's it, guys. We've done it. 10 laps, and we've got into not only the 119s, but the 119.6s, which is pretty damn decent, if I do say so myself. But a 1 minute 19.377 is an ideal lap time. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, you guys can get a 1 minute 18. Let me know when you get that done, but honestly, I can't wait to see what your lap times are. But the most important part, looking at the results, we do have a world record within MotoGP 22 on the PC, of course, which will probably last for absolutely no time whatsoever. But guys, I really enjoyed this particular challenge on the Ducati Desmoseci GP7 here in Laguna Seca. So guys, if you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comment section down below. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next DrAce video. Thanks for watching, guys. Join the Ace Academy via the link in the description to join the Discord server, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.